You know, Linux distributions seem to have crests and troughs. And right now, EndeavourOS seems to be really peaking in popularity. It was very well timed for me because I was going to install Arch anyway, and I thought, should I make an Arch install video for the channel or yet another one? But when I saw Endeavour coming up, I said, no, this could be a bit better. It's a bit more accessible, and I'm very curious to see how it would be. I haven't actually ever tried it. It's only about a year old. Even though it's a separate distribution, technically, it's still Arch. You're running off of all the Arch repositories. Therefore, we're going to check it out right after this. Alright, so now we have to pick a desktop environment. Or rather, maybe we don't have to pick a desktop environment. How about a window manager? I've been living in Pop! OS for the past month because I really wanted to try it out, and I did put a review up online. You can check my channel. There'll be a link in the description, and it's an absolutely fabulous distribution. I said it when I installed it, and I still say it now. I have no buyer's remorse. It's fantastic. But it's also GNOME. And even with their tiling extension that they have on there, it's still GNOME, and I can't do it anymore. So we're going back to Arch, and it's lightweight and it's very, very configurable. You'll see what I mean in a minute. All right, let's take a look. So we've booted into the live environment. Let's start the installer. Now they give you a choice between offline and online mode. If you choose offline mode, you're restricted to the XFCE environment for the install. If you choose online, you can choose other desktops, and I think you can update your packages during installation as well, and that is what we're going to choose. Alright, typical Calmara's installer. Nice picture. American English is good for me. American New York is good for me. Keyboard looks good as well. Obviously you will adjust. Alright, now since this is live hardware, we are going to manually partition. I've already set up my partitions so that they're ready. Okay, I already have a FAT32 partition, which is going to be our boot EFI. I'll keep it. By the way, in the screen before this one, it told you have to have a boot partition for this. That is not strictly speaking true. If you did make this a boot partition instead, it would work, but you do not have to, and I don't recommend it. I always use boot EFI. If you use this FAT32 partition, which is only 500 megabytes, and it really doesn't have to be bigger than that, but if you use it as your boot partition, you're going to put your kernels in there, and there's no reason to do that. On many levels, there's no reason to do that. Let's set up swap. This is already set up, but let's say we'll format it as Linux swap, no mount point. That's all good. This biggest partition, this is going to be our home partition. Make sure that is on keep, absolutely. Okay. And this here is going to be our root partition. And this one we can go ahead and format. Set it to root. Yeah. There we go. That should be it for that. Next, we get to choose our desktop environment. As I mentioned, we're going for i3. Oh yeah. Printing support? Sure, why not? I don't think I need accessibility tools and NVIDIA drivers. Absolutely yes. It's already got that selected for me, and that's it. We're not choosing any of these others. Of course, you're going to need the base. That's it. Next. My full name, I always put Tom F. What name you want to use in login? LEX. Name of this computer, let's call it Arch. Alright, we need a password for Lex. You know, I didn't realize until I started making videos that it's really hard to type and talk at the same time. All right, requires strong passwords. Nah, we'll get away with this one. Log in automatically? Absolutely not. Use the same password for the administrator? No. Okay, now listen to me. I'm going to get on my high horse for just a second, okay? Use a separate root password like God intended. Root is a separate account. Root is a necessary account. It'll save your butt if you have it. Believe me, it's happened to me so many times. And it's just better to have a separate password. You don't have to. You could use the same password as long as you have a root account. That's 90% of it. There are guys on the internet telling you that you don't need one, and that's the way Linux is designed, and that's the way Linux should be. Trust me. Oh, I'm sorry. I put all capitals. Of course you can't do that. I know that. All right. You guys are probably going crazy during the video saying, you can't do that. You can't do that. But I got it. All right. So this is it. Yes. Okay. This all looks correct. Let's go. About to make changes. Install now. Okay. All right. Let's pause the video. We'll come back when this is done. So now you can hit this restart button, but I don't usually do that. I usually shut down and then remove the boot media. So let's do that, and then we'll come back and see what i3 looks like on EndeavourOS. So here we are on the desktop after first boot, and it has a welcome screen. You can certainly check these out as you would like. There are a couple of good things. This update mirrors is a very nice utility. It's the Arch Reflector script implemented very nicely, and you can also add apps, LibreOffice and Chromium, firewall, and a kernel manager. It's very good stuff, so you should definitely check that out. All right, let's take a look at the Endeavour screen here. Nice wallpaper. It's kind of reminiscent of Debian, actually, but pretty good. Now, I can't go through the menus because a tiling window manager like i3 doesn't have any menus. But what it does have, it has 2 program launchers installed, which I think is a fairly good idea. It has Rolfie, and it's a very nice implementation of Rolfie, if I must say. This is more for your desktop applications, like things that are that would have a menu entry in another desktop environment, like let's say Firefox. See, it says Firefox web browser in parentheses, so that is not a command line. That is more of a desktop entry. It's a nice implementation. It works very nicely. Okay, they've also got Mod D menu. Now D menu is a very powerful and fantastic launcher because it's more than just a launcher. There's many more things you can do with it. That's beyond the scope of today's video, but word to the wise, D menu is a great suckless utility that you want to get on your system, no matter what desktop environment you're using. You could be using Ubuntu, standard or Mate or whatever, and you can use dmenu and it will be of great benefit. Okay? But the way it works in its normal implementation is you can, the same as with Rofi, you can type Firefox and there it is, and that would launch it. See here, let's just launch it just to show you. But I can also type commands. It's not just a desktop utility like Rofi is, at least in that mode Rofi is. Like I could type, I'm not going to do it now, but if I type shutdown here, if I hit enter, the computer would shut down. Okay, that's the same thing as typing shutdown in a terminal. The strength of dmenu is that you can feed output of it into a terminal, and you can make scripts with it, and it's fabulous. But like I say, that is beyond today's video, but we should take a look at that soon. All right, so the main thing that you're going to be concerned with when you do any kind of tiling window manager, i3 is no exception, is the config file. Okay, the config file is all. It is everything. All right. So here I have two versions of the config file. I have the original config file. That, when I say original, I mean original to EndeavourOS. And then I have my config file that I've started to modify. Because some of the defaults are a little bit strange. But let's go through it little by little and we'll work it out. All right, a lot of this is fairly standard and fairly normal. It's got thin borders, things like that. Usually up here you define a font, but they didn't do it that way. They have the font down a bit lower. It's perfectly fine the way they did it. I didn't change it. But that's why you usually see a font like right up front, like right in this area right here. You'd see the font and the font size for the default laid out. It is not here in this implementation, and that is okay. You'll see it in a bit. All right. So let's talk, before we talk about key bindings, let's talk about the workspaces, because they did something very strange. Here it is. Here it is. Very strange with the workspaces, and I don't get it at all. The whole point of running i3 is that you can have a lot of workspaces. 10, in fact. You can have more than 10, but 10 is easy because you use the number keys 1 through 0. So they have actually only binded key bindings for 3 workspaces. Workspace 2, 3, and 4. These are the workspace variables right here. So that's workspace 2, that's workspace 3, that's workspace 4. And the way you do key bindings in i3 is you do this bind sim command. Usually 99% of the time it's going to be $mod, because if you look, oh, here it is right here. We set this variable $mod to mod 4. Mod 4 is your super key. It doesn't have to be. You can make this mod 1. You see mod 1 I have set to alt. Mod 1 is the alt key. I think mod 2 is control. And off the top of my head, I can't remember what mod 3 is. I'll check that. But most people use mod 4 as their mod key, and I would recommend it, because if you start fooling around with alt and control to do these workspace things, these window tiling things, you're going to run into conflicts with the software you have installed, because a lot of software programs use control especially, but even alt too. So I definitely would use the super key as your mod key. That is a very, very good option. All right, so he's got here mod plus 2 is going to give you workspace 2, mod plus 3, workspace 3, mod plus 4, workspace 4. That's ridiculously limiting, and I can't imagine why. And then move containers to workspaces, and he's also only got 2, 3, and 4 as options. So what I did, let's get to it. Here we go. Is all 10. Okay, so mod 1 is 1, mod 2 is 2, etc. all the way. Mod 9 is workspace 9, and mod 0 is workspace 10. Okay, you can have more workspaces, but 10 has always been plenty enough for me. And then the same thing, move focus container to workspace. Right here, I also did the same thing. It's mod shift and then the numeral. So what that does, let's say, let's go to workspace 2. I'll open my terminal. So now you can see I'm in workspace 2 here, and I have my terminal. Now I can take my terminal, mod shift, let's say 6. All right, now I'm still on workspace 2, but you see workspace 6 has been created, right? i3 creates workspaces dynamically. If they're not needed, if they're empty, they disappear. So now if I go to workspace 6, there's the terminal that I just moved from workspace 2. That's the default behavior. I could take this workspace and I can move it anywhere. I can move it to 3. Now you see that 2 is gone because there's nothing on 2, but 3 is there now. And if I move to 3, there it is. So I have defined all 10 workspaces, and I don't know why you wouldn't do that. I certainly don't know why you would just do 2, 3, and 4. I mean, what about workspace 1, for goodness sakes? I'm not into it. All right, now, reloading the configuration file. That's a very important one. when you make changes to your configuration file, you have to reload it. So this is the standard key binding that comes with i3, and they didn't change it. Mod Shift C. All right, now here's the resize mode. Okay, this is a mode. Okay, we'll talk about modes in a minute. This is a resize mode where after you enter the resize mode, which is mod R, you can see down here this little resize icon came into the taskbar. That's telling you you're in resize mode. Now I can resize the windows. Okay, and if I was in vertical mode, I could do it up and down too. And once you're happy with where you want it to be, you hit escape or enter, and you're out of resize mode and you're back to normal. Okay, very nice resize mode. Okay, workspace bar. This section right here is all to do with up till here. This I bar. Okay, this is the default bar that comes with i3. You don't have to use it. You can get rid of the I bar and use a third party like Tint 2 or something like that. Perfectly fine. I always tended to use I bar, even though it's fairly less functional and fairly ugly, because that's not what you use a window manager for. I figure, why go through the trouble of installing and using a window manager if you're going to recreate a desktop environment? I'm happy with it just the way it is. It gives me just enough information, and the rest I can do myself. All right. Now this stuff here, this is basically to set certain windows to float. Okay. You can see, like, for example, the pulse audio volume control. That's a good one to float, actually. And I have it right here, PA Mixer P. There it is. You can see that it opens in floating mode. All right, I can close it with my Mod Shift. Whoop. Mod Shift Q. Hey, why aren't you closed? What is going on? There we go. I know what was up with that. And you can see this right here. We're still in this mode. We got to hit escape, otherwise the keys won't work. All right. Let's talk about modes in a little bit more detail. And I have modes here. All right, here's a simple one. The good thing about i3, and a lot of window managers do it, but not all of them, I would say most, is that you can go into a keyboard mode. And I think these are very useful and very valuable, because you start to run out of keys and it starts to become a pain in the neck. So keyboard modes will actually save you. The syntax is a little complicated, but just cut and paste it and use it here. Let me resize this way a little bit. All right, and you'll get the hang of it. Okay, these obviously commented lines are just information. Set. Whenever you see the word set, that means you're setting a variable. Okay, so this mode _ launcher is a variable, and then basically that's what is going to be displayed on the bottom of the taskbar. So if I hit Mod I right now, there you'll see it says browsers: Firefox, Chromium, Qt browser, and Chrome. Okay, escape to get out of it. So that's what we did with that variable. We set what is going to be displayed. And this is the key binding. Remember, key bindings in i3 are bind sim, the mod key plus the letter, in this case I. And what we're doing is we're executing a mode, right? So I'm telling i3 it's a mode. And which mode? The one that I just set right here, mode launcher. All right. And now I have to define what mode launcher will do. Okay, so we have the mode launcher, open bracket. That's important. And now we're doing key bindings, but these key bindings only function within the mode. So in other words, I have to hit Mod I first to go into this launcher mode. And then once I'm in launcher mode and that red text is displayed on the bottom, then these bindings will take effect. So F opens Firefox, C opens Chromium, Q opens Qt Browser, and E opens Chrome. Okay, if you hit escape or return, you get out of the mode. And then we have our close bracket. Okay, that's basically the formula for any and all modes. And I know some people don't like modes. They want to have every key binded to a different application whenever they need, and they think they have enough. And hey, if that's what you like, that's fine. But I much prefer it this way. So I have that mode for launching browsers. I have this mode for text editors. You can see this is old. It had GNOME text editor. Let's change this, because thank God I don't have GNOME on this system. This one is pad, leaf pad. And we'll make leaf pad L. Alright. And so let's change the text. Now this really doesn't have anything to do with function, but this is what it's going to display. So if we want to display something logical, there we go. And that will work. And this is just a note, but let me correct that as well. G or L to launch Genie or LeafPad, respectively. All right, let's save it. Let's go to a empty workspace. Mod Shift C, Mod Shift R. All right, now we go to that mode, which is Mod T, and then let's try out LeafPad, see if it works. And there it is. But the only annoying thing is that the mode doesn't auto exit. Okay, you can see that red text there on the bottom. So I could start typing, but as soon as I hit a G or an L, it's going to launch another application. So you have to remember to hit either enter or escape after you use these modes. I admit that's slightly annoying, but it is what it is. All right. Once you get used to it, it works. All right, so that's how you execute modes. I think the EndeavourOS, they provide you with a system logout, which is all well and good, except, like I said, it uses the mouse. And I don't see why these basic things you need to use the mouse when you're in a tiling window manager. So I have this mode set to, where did it go? I know it's mod Y, but why can't I see it? I'm blind. Here it is right in front of me. Mod Y, okay? Mod Y gives me the mode system. Okay, that's what I called it, mode system. And mode system, I have things like lock, the screen, exit, so you can exit, suspend, hibernate. I should take that out because I definitely don't use hibernate. Reboot, shut down, and the screensaver. Okay, so you can see right here that I created all of those. These are generally indented, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that. You could see that these are all indented here. So bind sim, and then there you go. This no startup ID, by the way, these are a good idea to put in between the exec and the actual command, because if it doesn't, if something goes wrong or it doesn't exist or it can't do it, you won't get the spinning hourglass for a full minute like you will if you don't put this no startup ID in there. That's all it does, but it's a good thing. All right, and these are the particular commands that will execute all of these things. And again, enter or escape, enter or escape to get out of the mode. So that's my way of doing i3. Okay, there's a lot more I can and will do with this file because, like I say, this is kind of a work in progress. It's in the middle of being moved over from one system to another, so there are different programs that have to be changed. Like I just changed LeafPad and stuff like that. And that's the i3 config file. So that was a look at installing and configuring i3. Actually, there's a few more things that we need to go over and cover. I think I'll do another video on post installation. We had to get the configuration file taken care of because that is by far the most important part. Okay, after that, it's more installing and fidgeting around and stuff. It's the fun part, actually. But now that we've got it going, the rest should be easy. So I think I'll do another video on that in the coming days. Just a little short one on the kinds of things you can install and how you can configure this, that, and the other thing. But Endeavour does a pretty good job. They do most of the configuring already for you. And you can take their palette and you can just improve upon it. Like hopefully we did a little bit today. And we'll do a little bit more. If you found this video useful, please like and subscribe below. And I hope to see you next time.